Welcome, Michael Früh, and thank you for taking part in the Embassy of Switzerland series on innovating in times of crisis. You are the Chief Financial Officer and Head of the Competence Care Center at F&P Robotics. I'm the Ambassador of Switzerland to the United States of America. Let's talk about the challenging times we are living through and challenging times that are actually also fostering innovation. And in your case, we want to talk about Swiss innovation in the US. So tell me about F&P Robotics and what are you doing in the United States of America?
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for having me today for this conversation. So I represent F&P Robotics. We are an innovative Swiss robotics company based in Zurich, and our aim is to bring robots to people. So our strength lies in bringing robotic applications into healthcare, into hospitality, where really robots and people work together. And we believe, especially in these times, robots have a big potential to support humans to living, I would say, a safer life during these difficult times we're in, and that we can have a little bit of an impact there. We are 50 people, so we are an SME company. We were founded in 2014, so also quite young, but we're growing year by year.
So I've heard a lot about Leo. Tell me about Leo. Who is Leo and why should everyone know about Leo?
Yeah, Leo is our mobile assistant robot, which we use in rehabilitation clinics, elderly care homes, in hospitals to support the healthcare staff, but also the patients and the elderly people who live in those institutions. So as you know, healthcare staff is very short, not only in Europe, I believe as well in the US and in other parts of the world. In the meantime, we all get older, so we need support living at home, but also in a residency.
Especially me, but
yeah, especially the ambassadors, of course. And this robot is designed to really interact with persons without any safety measures. So, for example, it can bring water, it can remind on appointments, it can take over transport tasks in hospitals and make a small impact to relieve healthcare staff, but also to improve the quality of life of people. And this is a very nice innovation we bring to the market. And here we really can say we are world leading in this assistive robotics.
That's pretty interesting, especially in the times of COVID, where the healthcare staff has been put under an intense pressure and also has been exposed to risks that maybe were unknown a few years ago. But now COVID has changed the way we all do business. Even diplomats have had to resort now to a much less traditional way of doing things virtually. Now, what has COVID changed for your company?
So we switched basically to completely home office in the beginning. So we were, as many other companies, forced to organize well in terms of online meetings, in working efficiently without physical presence and physical talks with each other. So that was the initial impact that COVID had on us. We also were restricted to enter customers' facilities. So you can imagine we have elderly care homes as our customers. And they were not really waiting for us to come in. So they were quite blocking all kind of visitors. Even relatives were not allowed to go in. So for us, this also meant that we had to find new ways also to introduce our products, to introduce our technology to potential customers via web conferences like we're doing it now. Also to demo the robots via the internet and not in really physical, where you can touch and feel the robot. So we had to develop such kind of demos where we could show the robot in the background, performing the tasks to introduce it to the customer. So that we were not able to go in there really had quite an impact on us, of course.
But there is a manufacturing dimension to what you're doing. So how did you solve the manufacturing problem? And did you have to find innovative ways to deal with the manufacturing?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. In our supply chain, we had some delays because we also have some suppliers from abroad, and they were at some point even restricted to produce at all. So there we faced some problems in procurement for parts of our robots. We do the manufacturing ourselves, so the robot is made in Switzerland that we produce. So manufacturing we had under control here to keep productivity high. But for some components, we had to wait for a couple of weeks longer than we were expected to do. So, but overall, we had it under control. We could work in manufacturing and deliver on time.
As we were saying in the beginning, disruptive times are usually also fostering new creativity. So did COVID actually generate or foster new ideas about the future of robotics for you?
Yes, very much so. So robots always had the potential to support people during crisis, and COVID also made it much more clear to many people working in healthcare, but also I would say ordinary residents, that the robots can help. For example, when you have a person with an infection and the healthcare professional who has to wear a lot of protective gear to have this interaction and still faces a risk of getting the virus. So within these face-to-face, I would say, interactions, it makes a lot of sense to use robots to get the risk reduced. And this is also what we did. So we created new functionalities of the robots for a delivery task. So the robot is able to autonomously enter a patient's room to deliver items to the patient without these personal contacts. So that was an innovation we tried to bring to the market very fast. And the second thing is also in disinfection. You have heard horrible stories about elderly care homes and these really high infection rates all over the world. And so disinfecting all the time is a high priority. And also many are obliged by law to do this many more times than during ordinary time. So the robot is also able to clean door handles and light switches. So all items which have high, I would say, frequency of getting touched during night and day, just to increase again at the level of hygiene in those institutions. So COVID crisis sparked, I would say, directly two new functionalities of our robot. And I think also people are a little bit more open to also adapt robotics in their work environment.
No, it's quite interesting, because one of the aspects of the COVID crisis has been that people have been suffering from a lack of human interaction. We are speaking by video link. Everything is being done virtually. Robots could solve quite a few problems, but is there a reflection being made about what it means for people to interact with robots instead of interacting with humans?
Yes, that's one of the core questions in robotics. So how much should robots actually take over tasks from humans, if that means to reduce human-to-human contact? So that's a big controversy, I would also say, in robotics. And we always have the position that robots should assist and not take away human-to-human contacts. I think that's a very human thing, that we would like to interact with each other and not just with machines. But having said that, in these times, robots can also help to have more interactions. So with offering video chat opportunities, for example, to patients and residents in elderly care homes, and also to have some kind of interaction which they otherwise wouldn't have because the healthcare staff could not get in. So I think overall robots should not be there to reduce human-to-human contact, especially in vulnerable situations like elderly care and hospitals, but even more help, and also to enable such conversations between humans.
Yeah, and it is true that, I mean, I can speak from my own experience. When I first was posted abroad many years ago, the only way to talk to each other was on landlines and very long distance lines, $20 a second, so that you would speak every month for two minutes to your family, just watching the counter. And nowadays you not only speak with your family, you see them. There is a kind of human interaction that is really special, and it has changed the way we deal with this is absolutely true. I could also imagine that robotics could potentially free up human resources doing menial jobs and giving more time for what only humans can do.
Yeah, you're making the right point. So we try to take away routine tasks, which just are walking from A to B, or just reminding person about anything, that we can a little bit, I would say, redo the process of people, that they can spend more of their professional time really with the patient, really with the residents, to give them a good quality of life. It's not that the quality time should be replaced, but the non-quality time should be supported by robots. And also, when you think about people with disabilities, they require a lot of support at home, and they have up to 15 visits a day by humans to help them doing everyday tasks. And when you have a conversation with these people, they also would very much appreciate to have more technological support to becoming more independent from humans. So it's, I would say, on the one hand side, you have human-to-human contact, which is very important, but on the other hand side, you also have people who would like to be more independent. And such technology can help them to choose freely when to eat, to choose freely when to take off the jacket, and things like that. So this is also this dimension to it.
Traditionally, if we look at the market for robotics, one, at least my generation, has somehow the idea that this was a specialty of the Far East, and especially of Japan and Korea. And now we see Swiss companies moving into the field of robotics. How advanced are we?
We are very advanced because we have great schools and great universities in Switzerland, and also, as you know, a very good economical conditions. So we have great talent here from ETH Zurich, from EPFL Lausanne, and from all other universities and other schools. So we are having a lot of talent with the cutting edge knowledge that they need right from their education. And so we think we are in a very good environment here. We also know a lot about AI and neurosciences and things that robots need to act clever. I think there we have really a very good knowledge base here in Switzerland. But you're right, traditionally robots come from Japan, South Korea, Germany, but also the US is now, in the meanwhile, quite a good robotics country, in various parts of the US. There are very interesting solutions appear in robots. So I think Europe and the US, we can compete globally in this domain.
Now, let me come back a little bit to the problem of the supply chain and the disruptions in the supply chain. Further disruptions of the supply chain are quite likely, if not initiated by a pandemic, probably by political measures. I mean, you can see that free trade is quite under attack, and that there will be probably also measures on controlling the transfers of technology and IP, especially from certain regions to other regions. Have you been thinking about what's going to happen to your supply chain in the future?
Yes, so we have thought hard about it as well, because costs, of course, is a factor. But what also is very important for our company is to be able to deliver on time. So the immediate effects on us is that we are really hesitating of, I would say, offshoring more of the part of our manufacturing that we do, and also maybe resourcing parts that we actually source locally. So at this time, it's a little bit dangerous to offshore too much. So we are really hesitating in this regard. But the good thing is that we have most of our suppliers really around, and not just you cannot really walk there by feet, but it's really in the surrounding. And so there we do not expect as much impact, let's say, in the European economical zone that we would expect from other regions, Asia and others, that we would expect. So we keep suppliers close, and also at the moment we focus with our customers on Europe, and mainly starting also in the US now, but also keep the customer close to really do the service in a way which the customer expects.
You know, there has been a fascinating development the last 10 to 15 years, where Swiss and American companies have started interacting so much more, and we have American companies manufacturing in Switzerland, but Swiss companies manufacturing in the US, which of course shortens the supply lines and whatever. The IP, the intellectual property is really flowing freely between the two countries, because we have two legal systems that are protecting the intellectual property. And in the meantime, the US has evolved into the main market for the Swiss economy. at least for 3 months last year, the US was our main partner, which is totally new. So this is growing exponentially, and this very strong interaction between the US and this market is something that we are very proud of. Two economies that are mature, technologically advanced, have a legal system that is protecting intellectual property rights and whatever. So we are very glad to see high technology. People traditionally tend to think Switzerland is about chocolate, watches, and banks, but high technology, fine tool machinery, robotics is something where we have something to bring to the American market, isn't it?
Absolutely right, and I think we can really bring interesting technology to America, and America has a very interesting market, which for us, of course, has a lot of opportunities, especially in healthcare. The US has the best researchers in many regards, and very advanced also clinics and hospitals. So for us, it's a very, very interesting market, and I think it could be a good fit also to work together with local companies. We were also approached during the last months by several American companies who are interested in our technology. We are starting to collaborate with them. We have good contracts about the IP, as you said, so that we feel confident to go more to the American market and also to win interesting customers which are there.
There is something that you mentioned that is of huge interest to everyone who is in this business of trying to increase the bilateral, let's say, and mutually beneficial relationship. And that's the very close cooperation between the industry and the academic world. And we see both in Switzerland and in the US an increasingly important cooperation between especially technical institutes in and here in the field of medtech, in the field of the big American universities are also closely cooperating with the industry. How close are you cooperating with American universities?
We are using a lot of things that have been developed at the American universities. So when it comes to algorithms in AI, there are very interesting open source, I would say, developments of famous American universities which we can implement and use. We also work with technologies from huge American companies which are available to high-tech companies like us, because we cannot do everything by ourselves. So I would say we are using products and services that have been developed at the American universities very strongly, and we also observe the market regularly. We have some guest lectures at the American universities. We have handed in papers for congresses at American universities, and we would like to enlarge this cooperation. So far, we do not have a formal relationship with one of them, but we certainly engage with publications and congresses and things like that.
Thank you so much. Since we are nearing the end of this interview, I would like to end on a positive note and say, well, there were quite a few positive notes already, but in this crisis, what would be the main positive lesson that you and your company have drawn from the COVID crisis?
I think that we also can manage a huge crisis and come out of it more successful and more, I would think, as a team as before. So I think we have a great team spirit, and we are very optimistic about our future development, because also, as I said, in our segment of healthcare and robotics, we feel that the public and the society feels more ready to accept and also to see the opportunities of robots that we are offering. So we are still in the middle of this crisis, but we think as a company, we really grew together, and we see the possibilities and opportunities which are in front of us here in Europe, but also in the US and globally.
Well, let's have a toast to that. And Michael Früh, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today. And have a very nice evening in Europe, I guess.
Thanks, Ambassador. Have a great day.
Thank you.